Hi, this is John Ondo from Marketing Media and Cupcakes. And before we get into today's episode, I just want to say thank you so much for listening. We're back after being gone for over 4.5 years. And I hope you get a chance to listen to episode 77, where we explain why we were gone for so long and that we're back for at least 3 more episodes. Angel and I are big supporters of entrepreneurship, and we love small businesses and faith-based businesses. And we just want to encourage you through our podcast each week. What's going to determine if we continue with more episodes will be the response. Subscribe to us on your platform. Send us an email at john@ondomedia.com. That would help us know you're listening and you want more episodes. So thank you so much, and let's get into today's episode. Say that again, because people are like, they just said, what did you say?
She just said a thing.
Yeah. It is, you don't lose. You either win or you learn.
I like it.
This is the small business podcast that is sweeter than all the rest. Marketing, media, and cupcakes.
Well, welcome. I'm John Ondo. Along with me is my beautiful wife, Angel.
Hi there.
Have you ever wanted to start a business and you thought, I can't do that?
Every day.
Well, yeah, okay. I occasionally think of myself as well. But today, I'm very excited. We have Christy Lingo back with us. Yay! Who is the host of Containers and Cocktails, or Cocktails and Containers?
Cocktails and Containers.
Cocktails should be first.
It is first because it is the most important.
It is.
As I'm imbibing in one right now.
Well, we're going to talk about that because she came and we're in studio here with lovely drinks that she has made for us, and we're going to get into that. We're going to talk about how she started her business and the fear factor, if you will, that resulted. And I know when I started my business 10 years ago, it was kind of a jump off the cliff, I don't care at this point thing. I forced you into yours a little bit.
Yes, because I still have a full-time job, so there you go.
But Christy's going to share with us a little bit about that. But first, let's talk about booze, because that's kind of fun.
Yeah,
so this is what we have here on our tables tonight is a
Hot Toddy.
A Hot Toddy.
And it's not these two ladies sitting here either.
Well, it is, but...
Sorry.
This is a lovely, and I have to admit, I have a little bit of a sore throat. If my kids finally gave me something that they brought home from school. So
Typhoid Mary.
So this is a perfect remedy.
Absolutely. That's exactly what I thought. I'd never actually had one before. And as I was sort of scrolling through cocktail recipes, I knew you guys were whiskey people. I knew you like the whiskey. And so I was looking through some whiskey cocktails, and then I sort of narrowed it to warm whiskey cocktails. And I came across this, and it's so good. And it's funny because it's exactly what you said. I didn't know that you were sort of feeling under the weather a little bit, but it's got lemon, it's got honey, it's got bourbon. It's perfect. And it's warm, you know? So I'm like, this is my new remedy. Forget Robitussin. I'm all about the Hot Toddy from here on out.
So give us the recipe. And if you've listened to Christy's podcast, this is what she does. So if you want more of this, she'll give you some information here in a little bit, but go ahead and run that.
Absolutely. So today, this particular recipe is going to come from delish.com, and you're going to start by warming up some water on the stove. You're going to need, per serving, a half a cup of hot water, so however much you need to warm up to make that. Then you need 1.5 ounces of bourbon, a tablespoon of honey, 2 teaspoons of lemon juice, and then we've garnished today with a cinnamon stick, and you could also garnish with some fresh lemon. And basically warm up that water in the teapot, and then in your mug, combine the bourbon, the honey, and the lemon juice, and then pour that nice hot water over it, and then stick that cinnamon stick into steep. And it just feels so yummy. Like I feel invigorated all of a sudden.
I guarantee you 150 years ago, this was a medicinal thing.
Oh, yes, for sure.
I love having a little bourbon in certain things. It's not about drinking heavily. It's about it's the taste, and and when you're doing like something like this with a sore throat, oh my gosh.
Well, I've had one of these before. I've requested it at a bar. And I have to tell you, this is by far 1,000 times better.
Well, thank you.
I think it was made with a little extra love than I would get at a bar. But it's just, there's something, I don't know, because what came through to me was the honey, like immediately, which was interesting because I love the bourbon, and you'd think lemon, it's so powerful. No, it was the honey, and I could still taste it on the back of my tongue. It's like, this is delicious.
It really is. And
I'm
even if
still
you're not
drinking it.
sick, it's good.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I'm not sick, and I'm enjoying it.
We're going to post that recipe on our show notes, but if you want more of these, and this is normally what we do at the end, but we're going to do it now. If you want to find out more about cocktails and containers, where do I find you?
Yeah, you can go to any of the podcast platforms that you listen on, Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, and just search for cocktails and containers, or you can listen to episodes on my actual website, which is cocktailsandcontainers.com.
Yay!
Whee!
So Christy is one of the two ELITA graduates we've had on. As
Dun,
part of
dun,
the thing.
dun.
A couple of weeks ago, we had a classmate of mine, Lori Tester,
Yeah, I
who's a
saw
photographer.
that.
So that was fun. So ELITA has led the marketing meeting cupcakes graduate
Bulldogs
side.
represent.
Yeah,
It has.
so that's kind of fun. So we want to get into, we've been talking about fear, Christy, since the beginning of the year. And I think fear is just such a big deal for all of us because we're scared of some things. And I talk to so many people, and you probably have too, and you can tell me some stories probably of somebody who's like, has a passion. I want to do this. I have this idea. And you go, why don't you start a business with it? And they go, oh, I can't. I mean, is that something you run into a lot? Because you do a lot of coaching and a lot of, interactions with business ladies and women and men and everything.
100%. That's actually part of the reason why I pivoted from professional organizing into business coaching, where so many moms were coming to me and saying, I'd love to start a business. How do I do it? And then when I would sit down and kind of start running through the steps, or what my typical day is like, or how much time I spend, marketing, or how much time I spend working with clients and things like that, you could just see their eyes kind of glaze over, or they
You
kind
have
of sit back in their
two kids?
I do. I have a 6 and an 8-year-old.
Which means you have
wow.
no time whatsoever.
I make the time
Yeah.
for it, and it that's what it's about. I think people think, oh, I have to fit this into my life the way that it is right now. And that's where that fear comes in, because they might like their life a lot where it is right now.
Yep.
But then they're like, oh, well, I can't make any adjustments. Well, if you want to do this, that's one of the things that you have to do. But I think it's that fear of change. It's the fear of adjustment, or the fear that they're going to lose something. I'm going to lose time with my family if I start this business, or I'm going to lose income because I'm going to be working less at my full-time job, or my husband's going to be upset because I'm not, cleaning and cooking the way that I used to be doing. And so that fear sets in that they can't make it work. But the idea is, it's not about it continuing to work the way that it is. It's about filling your passion by adjusting, by making certain things a priority, and maybe delegating, or finding time to work it into your schedule when you weren't, during stuff that you were previously, doing that maybe isn't as important.
So 5 hours of Candy Crush could probably wait.
That's very interesting that you bring up Candy Crush.
Just throwing it out there, because I've seen so many people lose. They're like, oh, I'm on level 3,000. And I'm like, oh my God, find a hobby. I don't know what you need to do.
That is their hobby.
That is her hobby. Yeah.
That is frightening.
Well, Christy, just to summarize, and if you want to hear more of Christy's story, we had her on right before Christmas. So roll back in our little podcast, you can find a little bit more. But basically, to summarize, you and your husband worked together, correct? At didn't you at one
At
point?
Trader
right?
Joe's,
At Trader Joe's, right?
yeah, that's
Okay.
where I met my husband.
Ah.
We didn't work together long because
What
they
did
have
he
a
do?
rule.
What did he do to swoon you into a date?
He looked really cute in jeans.
That works.
Okay.
That works.
That's men take note.
Yeah.
Those jeans do
He
make a
looked
difference.
really cute in the jeans. We only worked together for a short period of time, because once you start dating, you have to work at separate stores. So then we moved to separate stores. But so that's how I met my husband. And then when we decided to have kids was when I started looking into being an entrepreneur and having my own business, because I wanted flexibility, and I wanted my own schedule, and I wanted to sort of control when I was working, because I wanted to be a mom. That was something that was important to me. And it's funny when you talk about fear and stuff, like, it never even crossed my mind to be afraid of something like that. Like, to me, in my brain, it just made sense that, oh, well, I want to control my own life, so I'm going to be my own boss. And when we were kind of talking in preparation for this, I think it's less about confidence. It's more about, I have trained my brain to not be afraid of failure. And I think that that's a huge thing as an
Yes.
entrepreneur.
I would agree.
Terry and Renee Dismore, who are here every other week, it seems like, and Terry has shared on the show that basically fear is you have faith in a bad outcome. So what were your thoughts? Were you fearful of that I don't want people to know that maybe my business didn't succeed, or I can't make the money. What was it?
Or did you really have any?
I didn't have fear. And I was saying to John, it's like my friend Rose said to me recently, she's like, how are you so confident? And I really think it goes back to this idea that my parents were always, anything that I was like, I want to try this. They're like, great. I want to try this. Great. And it was this whole childhood of you don't lose, you win or you learn.
Wow.
And that's a quote that I've recently heard from a coach of mine, James Williams, who's a high performance coach, and he's all about like mindset and stuff.
So let me stop. Say that again, because people are like, they just said, what did you say? Say
she
that
just
again.
said a thing.
Yeah. It is, you don't lose, you either win or you learn.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like
it's
that a
big.
lot.
And when you take that mindset shift, when you start thinking about, oh, well, I don't have this fear of failure anymore. I don't have this fear that I'm not going to succeed, that people are going to think that I wasted my time or I wasted my money. You're going to learn no matter what. Like you've said, you've had a couple of failures today. I've had multiple failures today. Of course I have.
Amen.
But I'm going to learn from it. And tomorrow, maybe I won't make the same decisions. Maybe I won't make the same mistakes, but I've learned to fail forward, I guess is something I've also heard recently.
And I use that in my full-time job as a trainer, telling people, I said, there's no mistake. You'll never forget it because you're going to learn from it. So I'd rather you make the mistake now in the beginning than get into it and you don't realize it, because once you do it and it's really ugly, you'll never do it again. You'll always remember. And so
100%.
You just put words to what I've always said is, you're never gonna lose. You're gonna learn.
Yeah. Well, my husband and I don't want to say we argue about it, but he calls me. He says, "No, that's not honest." So I have always said I was previously married in my early 20s. I was married for 6 years, and I've always said that I don't regret it. And
Right.
again, I think it comes from this idea, you don't lose, you
Learn.
win or you learn. And I feel like I'm such a better spouse now because of what I learned from my first marriage. And my husband's always like, you don't regret getting married early at all? And I was like, no, because I love where I am right now.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be here if I hadn't have done that. And like, talk about failures, especially in, the society that I grew up in. Like, you got married and you stayed married. So like this idea of getting divorced, I was the first person that I knew of my friends that had gotten married. I was the first person that got divorced. And it could have really been this thing that hung over my life. But instead, I learned to be such a better spouse. I listen more. I nag less. I've learned all these lessons. And I think in the end, he's very appreciative from the lessons that I learned.
I believe that. So let me jump forward, because I think we've talked a lot, and you've had this where you start your business and there's that fear, but I think the thing that I grow frustrated with myself, I've had my film TV production company for 10 years now. We've just launched a second business underneath it, and I'll tell you, and she will attest to this, every couple of weeks I'll have a night I can't sleep. Business is okay, nothing's really wrong, but there's still that nagging. I'm not where I wanted to be. There are bills that I thought somebody would have bought me out by now with $2 million, and this hasn't happened yet. And and I've got tires on the car I've got to put on today and all this fun stuff. So, it's one thing to say, well, I have fear when you're starting a business, but what happens when you're 10 years in and you're still thinking, I don't know if I got this right? Or and you've been saying you've got coaches. Tell me some of the things, that you're actually doing to be proactive, so we can take some lessons from you, so I can get sleep at night.
Yeah, no, that is 100%. And as you started talking, I was like, it's because I have somebody who's not necessarily my boss, but who's looking at it from the outside that can evaluate and be like, listen, you're doing great. Because sometimes, especially as an entrepreneur, if you're working alone or you're the boss, you need someone to pat you on the back a little bit and be like, you're doing great. You're doing amazing. And you're exactly where you should be. Because, it's very hard. And I feel like in this social media world where it looks like everybody's
doing amazing work.
Exactly.
Why are they on a cruise? How did they get a cruise?
Yeah.
I'm saying that to Angel all the time.
Oh, yeah.
They're on a cruise. I don't even know if they have a job. And I'm working 90 hours a week and she's working 2 jobs. And we're like, we can't go on a cruise.
No.
Right.
Social media sucks.
It does. It really can dig into your mindset. And that was going to be my second thing, is that one thing that I've really started to hone in on and work is my mindset. This idea of, I wake up every morning and I do gratitude journals.
Oh.
I think about everything that I'm grateful for. And it's amazing how that shift, in the last 6 months that I've been doing that, it makes me appreciate all those little things so that I'm up less at night now because I can appreciate the successes that I have so much more. I do still strive to do more. Of course, I always want to be better. I'm a go-getter. I'm an entrepreneur. I always want to be doing more and making more money and helping more people. But taking that time to appreciate and acknowledge all the success that you've had makes a huge difference in being able to be present, be where you are, and then continue to move forward.
Do you ever go back? Well, because your husband still works at Trader Joe's.
He does.
So do you ever go back in there sometimes and think, thank God I don't work here anymore?
So it was a different time. It was a really fun time. I was a chalkboard artist there.
Which is
so
amazing.
So it was a super fun job.
It's not that Trader Joe's isn't a bad. It's actually a great place to work. But you sit back and I see people. There's often times where I have to go and do a location shoot or something, and I have to leave at 9:00 in the morning with everybody else versus working at home. And I see people going to work and they got that glaze over. And I say to myself, God, I don't have to do that anymore because I do love what I do. And you have the glazed eyes look often because you have to go to your job sometimes, but you do love what you do.
I do.
Don't completely believe you, but yeah. But you do.
do on most days.
It's hard. I don't love what I do every single
No,
day.
I don't
Oh,
either.
you'd be nuts if you did.
Today was a bad
Yeah.
day, so I was like, yeah, what am I doing here?
Well, today we were having a meeting about goals. And I personally, in my life and in general, I hate goals. And I truly believe that my full-time job has made me hate goals because they're completely ridiculous and not possible.
I don't want to sidetrack, but is
feel
it because
free.
the goal, is it because it's like, okay, Angel, we need you to do more goals?
We used to go out and get to create and do and think and brainstorm. What can we do? How could we make the business better? And now you're kind of handed, here you go, do this.
Our goal is to be more environmentally friendly or to do
Well, your
something
goal is to do these things. And I'm like, okay, I'll go do those things. And
Are
then
you more right-brained or left-brained? Are you creative or analytical?
She's analytical.
it depends on the day.
And the things she's doing.
Because when I'm in my kitchen, it's all creative. Now
Yeah.
I am analyzing things as I'm doing it. I'm very much I stay up at night thinking about the next cake I'm going to make.
Yeah.
That's what keeps me up. Like this morning, I got up at 5 because I couldn't sleep, and I made cupcakes because the cake I made I didn't feel was the way it should have been because I knew the failures I'd had that night. I was like, it's too late. I can't redo it. But this is a dear friend, and she would understand, but I can't hand her a product that's going to be crappy. So I gave her something else and said, just in case this really sucks,
That's the
Here's
fear
more cake.
here's something else
the
that I
fear she
know
deals with.
doesn't suck. So here you go. And she's like, you are nuts. And I'm like, no, I'm not. And then she and I were in a meeting that afternoon, talk about goals. And we ended up just sitting there for an hour talking about everything but goals because we were all frustrated with the situation.
But like in the case of this cake scenario where you feel like it's not your best work, so I'm going to make more cakes. Does that go back to a fear I think we often do is a fear of rejection? I was sharing earlier today. We have our new podcast company. We have a group of guys who just recorded in our studio. It was a last minute. They had an emergency. And, I'd like to have them come back. And they call back, can you do it next week? We're out of town next week. And I felt horrible.
Oh, he was panicking.
I can't say no because I don't want to lose this possible account because I would like to have this. So it's that fear of rejection,
Correct.
that fear of and Christy's never had this, I'm sure, happen to her.
I have it happen all the time and in any business that I've had. And, remember going into consultations and I feel like I would over deliver till the cows came home in these consultations. And then I would never hear from these people again. And
Did I share too much?
Yeah, I was like, oh, what did I do wrong? I would go over in my head everything. And then I just started to realize not everybody is a good fit for me.
Yeah.
I am a big personality. I am very opinionated. I will get you where you need to go, but some people need it a little slower. Some people needed it a little quieter.
Yeah.
And I've, again, learned to, it's okay. And I think that it's great. You know the person that you made these cakes
Yes.
for, but you're going to learn
Had I not
maybe you were a little tired this time, or whatever it was that set you up to feel like you had failed.
Yep.
Jot it down. Figure out what it was so that you don't make that same decision again and end up in the same place. Like that's how we learn. That's how we learn and fail forward.
That was me trying to do too much in a short period of time, thinking, no, I've got this. I've done this before.
I go to a lot of your cake reveals, and people come in and they see your cakes and they love your cakes. But it's so easy for that little voice in your head to say, they were just saying that, or whatever. And so what do you do besides the journal? What other things have you learned with your work?
I am the opposite of you. I love goal setting. I have
but she's doing it for her own gig though.
Well, and I have multiple things that I want to accomplish. But one thing that I have been coached to do, which I think is so great, is instead of writing like, I want to take my family on a beach vacation, or I want to visit every continent.
Sure.
I say, I'm happy and grateful that I have, as if it's already happened, because your brain registers that as accomplishment. And so it doesn't register it as something you can't do. It registers it as something you already did. And how often it's like, so right now I'm training to run a half marathon, right? And this is the 4th half marathon that I've run. So I've done it before. I am by far in the worst shape that I have ever been in when I have started to train. I trained for a half marathon immediately after having my first child, and I had a C-section, right? My body was a hot mess after that,
goodness.
right? I felt like I was in better shape than I am right now. That was 8 years ago.
After being slipped open.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my goodness.
But you know what? I have already done it. So in my brain, I already know I can do this. And so when people are like, I can't believe after we recorded the last episodes that we had, I was diagnosed with pneumonia. So since I talked to you at the beginning of December, I have had pneumonia. I didn't work out or do anything active basically for about 6 months in my life. And I started training for a half marathon. What in the world was I thinking? But you know what? In my brain, I know I can do it because I already have. And it's that same thing when you write out what you would like to do or what you would like to accomplish as if you've already done it. So if you say, I am happy and grateful that I created an amazing cake for my friend. I am happy and grateful that I am able to bring joy to people through my cakes. All of those things, when you constantly remind yourself of that, your brain starts to believe it without questioning it.
Okay.
And then you don't fear failure because your brain already believes that you've done it.
Well, we've
makes
seen
sense.
for years the effect, of what happens when we were kids and somebody says, I remember.
You can't do that.
You can't do that. I remember multiple times because I have horrible handwriting. You will never be able to do anything because your handwriting's horrible. And you hear that enough times, you do believe it. And so I do believe, we've all heard the thing, the sticks and stones, and words will never hurt me, but it's not true. Words do hurt, and when you believe words, and when I spoke at our alma mater at Elida, I told kids, that year, maybe you've had something spoken over you that is hanging over you. Your past doesn't define your future. So I think that's a great word you're giving people right now. Is just say, listen, if you've started this business and you don't think it's working, before you throw in the towel, and maybe this is a failure in the sense that it's a lesson for something else, but before you do that, you better start believing, I've got a reason that I did this.
Well, and maybe you'll be more successful if you start to look at all of the positive things that you've done. I've learned to use Excel. I've learned to use Canva. I've learned to upload videos to YouTube. I've learned how to edit a podcast. I've learned all these things. When you start thinking about that, you're like, wow, I went through 4 years of college and I didn't learn any of this stuff. What an education I'm getting as an entrepreneur. And that's, just what I've learned, what you've learned, all the things like I've learned that chocolate cakes need this ratio, but vanilla cakes need this. Those are amazing lessons that I don't know. I follow recipes. You probably know them off. So really starting to appreciate those things will build your confidence and will help you to feel more confident moving forward.
Yeah, definitely. And it's funny because it's one of my favorite, although John has probably never seen the movie. You've seen the movie Pretty Women. Pretty Woman.
I've seen Pretty Woman.
You didn't like it.
For sure.
I saw parts of it.
But one of my favorite lines that Julia says Thank you.
See, I knew that name.
Is, he's something, I can't remember, but she's like, it's easier to believe the bad stuff.
Yes.
That line has stuck with me since the day I saw that movie, and it still rolls through my head. And you hear the positive affirmations, and then I see the joking thing that they used to have on Saturday Night Live with the guy on Saturday Night Live who would stare in the mirror and he goes, I'm good enough.
Stuart Smalley.
Thank you. And he's like, I'm wonderful.
Doggone it, people like me.
Well, just try
Yes.
this out next time you're at work. Go to work and just start talking about how great your boss is and see what kind of crowd you draw, as opposed to sit back and say, my boss is a jerk, and you will have a crowd in 10 seconds.
What is funny, though, is I am such not the person I am here as I am at work. I have a totally different skill set. I've been there for almost 27 years. I don't have any problem getting up in people's shenanigans about things because I know it. And I still make mistakes. I made a mistake the other day. Literally was like, oh, Angela. And I did it. And I fixed it and all was well. But boy, this part of my life, what I wanted to do, I still, like I said, I keep myself awake at night worrying about it.
I think it's because you have the passion. So you remind me a lot of the moms that come to me and they say, like, I would love to start this business, but there's this fear. And I think sometimes when it's something you're passionate about, you're even more scared because you're afraid you'll lose the love for the thing that you love.
Yes. Yeah. And then what will I have?
And then what do you have? Like, what business do you have? And I can totally appreciate that. I can tell you my house was a lot more organized before I became an organizer because I don't love to do it for myself anymore. So there's a genuine sort of like fear of that. But I also think that any sort of work that you can do around encouraging yourself to say, like, you are really good. Okay, seriously, go to her Instagram page and check out her cupcakes and her cakes because she is thebomb.com. And
Thank you.
You need to own it and you need to put it out there. And the more that you're able to tell your brain that, the more you're going to listen.
Yeah.
In the moment
Makes
we
sense.
have left with Christy Lingo, who's the host of the Cocktails and Container podcast, it's gonna get serious for a second.
Oh no!
But I know you have a passion for especially stay-at-home moms and moms that are with their kids and they're doing what they want to do, but at the same time they have a passion to still work and do things and follow a vision. I want you to talk to somebody who is probably listening right now and they're thinking, I can't do this, Christy. People have told me I can't make this work in my life. I don't think I can pull this off, but yet nothing would make me happier than to spend 3 or 4 hours a day working on something I love. Tell them what you would encourage them with right now.
My first thing would be is absolutely you can do it. There are so many moms that are just like you out there making money, doing something that they're passionate about, and they don't have anything special outside of the fact that they have dedicated some time and prioritized this passion into a business. And yes, it's going to take a little bit of adjustment. And yes, you might need to delegate some of your childcare.
And that's not a negative or a bad reflection as a mom, is it?
Absolutely not. In fact, I feel like because I have something that feeds my passion, when I am with my kids and I'm spending intentional time with them, I am so much better as a mom because my mom cup is full from all of the things that I loved doing throughout the day. I helped people. I made money. I felt valuable to somebody else. And now I can come home. I can shut off my phone. I can shut my computer and I can be 100% involved and intentional with my family. So it doesn't not make you a bad mom to want to do something that you're passionate about and make money. We can figure out how to make time and make the priorities available for you to do something you're passionate about.
Great stuff. And again, if you
Awesome. Where was she 25 years ago in my life?
she was
in
learning things.
elementary school, probably.
No. Well, high school. I was in high school.
Okay.
Well, and again,
I'm bad at math.
the big thing I think said here today, if it's not a success, it's a lesson.
Absolutely.
So wherever you're at right now, the purpose of our podcast is to encourage you and to I always sign off by saying, live the dream. And I think that's so important because we've lost a lot of people so far in 2020. It's been ridiculous.
I'm done.
And yeah, we're done. And I'm done with, I got a family member whose ashes were put in the grave and there's no head marker. And I'm like, and I hate to sound egotistical, but it's like my life, I want my life to mean more than that. And he was a marvelous man who raised
Yes.
a family and did great things, but I want to change things. And I think a lot of people who listen to this podcast, I know Christy agrees, that we want to impact people, encourage them. So that's the reason we're here. So if you like what you're hearing, first of all, like and subscribe to our podcast. We love it. And here's Christy's information all about her podcast that you need to follow her and all of her fun stuff.
Yeah, so go check out Cocktails and Containers on whatever podcast platform you listen on, or visit cocktailsandcontainers.com. And if you are that mom looking to start a business, or you just want to kind of put feelers out there to see if you think that your idea is viable, you can book a free 15-minute call with me if you go to bookacall.businesssavvymama.com.
Nice.
I will talk to you for 15 minutes. We'll talk about what you want to do, and I can sort of tell you from a person who started 2 different businesses what you could do, what it's going to take, and, how you can make money in your passion.
That's awesome.
Wonderful. Come back,
Awesome.
and we want to talk some more
Please.
about some other stuff.
Bring booze.
And booze.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And again, Marketing Media and Cupcakes, we are on Facebook and Instagram. I still have not put up a Twitter. I'm sorry. But you can follow us as well as Angel's Custom Cupcakes and Ondo Media. And if you are a podcaster and you're looking to do some podcast production, I would encourage you to do Premier Podcast. I happen to know the owner, and he's a great guy.
He is.
So until we see you next time, keep living the dream.
Connect with John and Angel via Facebook and Instagram and let us know your thoughts. Marketing Media and Cupcakes is a production of Ondo Media.